Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome. It's race 2 of 12, season 17, 45 laps around the historic international circuit here in the virtual Monza, Italy, the virtual iRacing Autodromo Nazionale Monza, 3.6-mile circuit, 5.79 kilometers, since we are, of course, racing not inside the United States, the only place that uses the Imperial system anymore. It's time for the Italian Indy Grand Prix. Hello again, everyone. So great to have you with us here live on VirtualRacing.Network. My name is Trevor Greenfield. I have been the voice of the International IndyCar League since the very end of Season 10, and here we are continuing strong into Season 17. Now, of course, last season, the story was all about David Strid, the Australian who took his very first championship in the International IndyCar League. But the very last race was completely different, as we visited the, of course, virtual Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, where none other than A.J. Burton of Team I5G took the victory over basically a zero margin over Graham Bunyan, former 5-time champion. So who will put their name atop the charts today, taking victory at a very prestigious international racing circuit where they both turn left and right? Well, that's what we're going to find out. Let's go ahead and send it down trackside. We'll get qualifying underway and find out, you know, before you can race, you must first qualify. So who will take pole position for today's race and give themselves a fighting chance at perhaps taking victory here today at Monza? Well, it's always a good thing to do that because especially at road courses, you know, you got to look out, because there's always those sorts of drivers out there who maybe take it a little too aggressively into turn one. Of course, no races are actually won in turn one, but they are, of course, lost in turn one, as they say. So to qualify up towards the front gives you that fighting chance to get through that turn one melee, and hopefully, assuming that there's no administratively thrown cautions, there will be no cautions today, so that's another reason why you want to make sure that you get a start up front, because otherwise if things get spread out, you're just automatically starting off with a bit of a gap towards the back. One interesting note about today's rules, because the series is, the league, is visiting a road course. There are multiple compounds, so 2 compounds, red and black tire choices for these drivers to make, and they must use at least one of those per, one stint of those per tire. So driver is going to have to be very strategic with how they do that. Why don't we go ahead and take a look here at some of the weather for today's race. There you can see it on the screen. Of course, a nice little track diagram for you to check out. And on screen you can also see 76 degrees in the air, 57% humidity. And of course, VirtualRacing.Network commentary team is entirely consisting of myself at the moment. Who knows, that could change always in the future. But here, Monza, Italy, 91, it's 90, oh, I see, it's showing 91 degrees there on the track. And we're at 600 feet of altitude, if that matters to you. Of course, virtual altitude. We'd love to thank all the virtual fans that also come out every single week and pack the grandstands. I mean, it's a sold-out crowd. I did have to sort of turn down the crowd settings because we did listen to Mr. Graham Bunyan's advice, and we did increase the resolution on these race cars, so you'll be seeing a lot more detail. It's not a 5-time consecutive champion for nothing, folks. He goes into all those settings, and of course he's probably looking for some sort of competitive advantage in there somewhere. I'm just joking, he really isn't. But I think he was just doing some checks because also Aussie racer Graham Bunyan, well, why don't we go ahead and get him up there on the screen. He's already got a lap in, 1:32.56. He's the top of the charts at the moment. And there you see him on the screen, and of course in much better detail than ever before. Aussie Racer, as he's known, and you can find him over on Twitch as well. So Bunyan relinquishing that championship title, championship holder title there, the end of last season. No real fault of his own. He had some definite complications from receiving surgery last season. Just wasn't really feeling well through a number of the races, and just wanted to take some time off at the end of the season, even though it meant he would only be able to take third in the championship. He still came back and tried to race as well at the end of the season, but handed over that crown to his longtime friend and fellow countryman David Strid, who currently sits second. So 1:32.56 for Bunyan, continuing now to finish his second lap. Let's go ahead and go on board. Oh, well, I don't know if that's going to be such a fast lap, and in fact, he does bring it into the pits. A little wide there. Exiting that corner, so Ryan Bowles, he's on his cool down lap at the moment. In fact, most of these drivers have already gotten in their laps, so here we check in with Richard Kelbaugh, Mr. Stickwick, trying to get in his second lap and improve from 11th place. And of course, was for so long that Stickwick was the presenting sponsor of what was the U.S. IndyCar League. Back in the old cigarette advertising days. No, I'm just kidding, it wasn't. But it feels like it was forever ago, to be honest with you. It was really only just a couple of seasons ago. And it's always great, though, to see that Team Stickwick car out there. And Kelbaugh trying to improve his time here today. But that was not going to be enough to do it. So I think that's going to probably do it for everyone. I don't see anybody else out there on the track. So while we let them go ahead and finish up, go ahead and take a look at some of the more important information that you're probably sitting there wondering when I will get to, such as the point standings. Well, we've got that. We got you covered right here. So AJ Burton, he takes the win over Graham Bunyan by, a feather. I don't even think there was I think it was down to thousandths of a second. But hundredths of a second, we're not able to cover it on our race broadcast. But either way, AJ Burton currently sitting on the top of the standings. He's not in today's race, and we most likely will not see him through many of the races this season. It just sort of worked out that he could be there. 1 start, 1 win, 1 pole position, 3 bonus points. He cleaned the whole race up. Bunyan in second, last season's champion right there, 6-time winner last season. David Strid in third, Jason Lowe in fourth, and looking like maybe Jason Lowe might have something to say this season as well about that championship. He did lead part of the season 16 championship. So we're just getting ready to get going here, as I guess it's an extended qualifying session. Usually it's only like 8 minutes, but I guess they're giving them a little bit of extra time here. Here's Angel Alcañiz Ponce out there in the Team Mazinger machine. Manuel Gomez Esteban already qualifying 5th fastest. You see the rest of the running order of the standings for season 17 after one race. You can find your favorite driver there. Still so much more racing to go. It's kind of like early to talk about that championship picture, so to speak, but we'll let Angel see if he can get down a qualifying lap. Kind of a late arrival here, and no real telling why. Perhaps he was a little bit later to get here, but either way, great to have another driver in the field. To be 13 drivers who are going to take today's green flag here in Monza, Italy. So with that said, go ahead and get the starting lineup ready for you up here on the screen momentarily. Just apologize for just a short delay here while we wait for things to go green or go official. Here to have once again lost a little bit of connectivity, so we'll manually go through the starting order here. It is Graham Bunyan who will be starting on pole position. Second will be David Strid. And this is going to be a short pace lap here, so we want to make sure that we get you some good coverage. Bunyan starting on the pole with David Strid alongside. Dominic Harte in third. Dan Ensch going to be starting in fourth position. Manuel Gomez Esteban. There we go. We finally get it up there on the screen so you can see it for yourself. Manuel Gomez Esteban, great qualifying effort yet again. I mean, Dan Ensch, fantastic qualifying, and last week's presenting race sponsor driver, Dominic Harte, going to be starting there on the second row, as you can see. Ensch for that last lap Motorsports ALZ.org entry. Manuel Gomez Esteban for Team Mazinger, and then we look just behind to Mauro Ramirez there, starting in sixth position, actually alongside of Manuel Gomez Esteban. Then Ryan Bowles will be starting alongside Jason Lowe for the Rescue Ranch. Just behind them, Will Stearns and Mike West. Quite a combo there. We'll be looking to see what happens in turn one. And starting just behind, now I'm seeing a number of drivers still haven't quite made their way to the starting grid. So we'll see if everybody takes the start or if they're going to start from the pits. And in fact, it looks like some of these drivers are going to start from the pit. So Richard Kelbaugh, Angel Ponce, Manuel Gomez Esteban, Dominic Harte, and Iñigo Mardones, I believe, are your four drivers that will start from the pits. You can get a camera over there and take a look. At least one of them sitting there on pit lane exit. But either way, it will be Graham Bunyan. And I'm seeing now Ryan Bowles moving into that second position. I think he's just waiting for David Strid to reform there at the front. And we'll get ready to go here momentarily, about to take the green flag. So exciting stuff. We'll be heading down into that chicane, the official turn one here at Monza momentarily, as these drivers now heading down this infamous back straight and about to head into Curva Parabolica. Then they will be underway as the pace car will pull off and get this one set for 45 laps here today in Monza. So Graham Bunyan on the inside, David Strid on the outside. Strid pulls ahead just a little bit there. We're just about to get going, and he steps on that accelerator past Barney the flag man, and we are underway.
Green flag.
We are green, as you can hear from the spotter. And leading into the chicane, it is, as they started, Graham Bunyan, David Strid. Now 1, 2, Ryan Bowles and Dan Ensch. Ryan Bowles having an issue. I think he's had a slowdown out of that chicane, and he's had to slow up his car. That puts Dan Ensch with that ALZ.org machine into third. There you can see Mauro Ramirez just behind. Looks like there was some more action as Bowles had to shortcut that chicane, and so did Will Stearns. So we've got multiple drivers off in the second corner. Get a wider picture. There we go. So Stearns and Bowles suffering there on the opening lap. Back at the front, though, it is Graham Bunyan and David Strid who continue to set the pace. No surprise there. Dan Ensch and Mauro M.J. Ramirez in third and fourth position. I sound a little bit tired, maybe a little jet lag. Flying a couple of different times the past 4 days. Just got in last night right around midnight, and it's 7 o'clock right now here on the West Coast. So We're all kind of waking up together. Couldn't find my black tea, so I'm just drinking herbal tea. So hopefully I don't fall asleep here on the broadcast. That'd be funny. Hope you're doing well out there. Check in with us if you are. And by the way, did you just see that pass from David Strid? Well, he's now in the lead. So last season's champ up into the lead, swapping positions with Graham Bunyan. So we'll take a look there, as you can see, at the tire choices. You've got David Strid on red tires, Graham Bunyan on black tires, Dan Ensch on black tires, Mauro Ramirez on reds, Jason Lowe on reds, and the Pink Pig back there, Kirby Pink Pig. And Angel Ponce already up into that 6th position. He's gained 7 spots so far, so great run so far for Angel in 6th place. Manuel Gomez Esteban, his fellow teammate there for Team Mazinger, currently running in that 7th place. He's lost a couple of positions there on the start. Mike West in 2nd place, or I'm sorry, in 8th place, gaining 2 positions. And here is Ryan Bowles, appears to be just exiting the pits, so working on service and getting going again. Good for him. Stearns, and you can see Richard Kelbaugh sitting in the pits. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to make many laps here today. Here's Dominic Harte. I don't see that Dominic had a crash, so I'm not exactly sure why he is so far back, because we do not have any sort of notes for that. But we look back up in front. Here's some change of position. There comes Jason Lowe climbing his way through the field. That Pink Pig now kind of that menace in the rear view of Mauro Ramirez. Look out the back of MJ's car. Beautiful new livery by Bopsy. There comes Jason Lowe, and he decides to take the better of it. A little puff of brake smoke from MJ. MJ trying to hang on to that 3rd spot, as Dan Ensch has now fallen back into 5th. Back up at the front, though, it is David Strid. Strid, who took last season's championship really with no issues whatsoever. Just Mr. Consistent, fighting his way from the back of the pack multiple times to take race wins, and he's been solidly improving. It's sort of like the focus has mostly been on Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe and others, but there quietly David Strid has been fast, he's been consistent, and of course, as we talk about every week, David Strid pretty much supplying the setups for this league on a weekly basis. I don't know for a fact that it was him today, but I do have some other good information coming to us this week, because you see this pass happening here down into the chicane. That's Jason Lowe moving now up into that 3rd spot. I'm going to say Dan Ensch back in the field this week, so that gives us a chance to talk about a couple of things. One, it's about 10 laps of fuel, so I think everybody's going to kind of be in the same boat, because this is such a long circuit. It's very difficult to save a full lap's worth of fuel. You could do it, but you'd give up so much pace in doing it. Not really a reason to do it. So the reds fall off quickly, according to Dan. So he won't be doing, he's going to be minimizing how much time he needs to do that with. And speaking of Dan, or to use those red tires, speaking of Dan, he just had an off track there a moment ago. Back on the track. And we do have a note that Iñigo Mardones perhaps had to jump to the pit. So let's jump back and take a look at that. White seeing he does come through the pits. Sorry, that's Ryan Bowles. Not sure why not showing Iñigo Mardones, but either way, not seeing him currently on the track. And he has rejoined back out on the track. A little difficult to follow here because our notes don't seem to be giving us all the information. But either way, trying to track it as best as we can. Iñigo Mardones for the Necky Racing team, proud team out of España, one of our international drivers implementing the field. But unfortunately has slipped back to lucky number 13 and the very tail end of the group, which means that Rick Kelbaugh, for those of you, the Team Stickwick fans, Rick Kelbaugh back underway here. One thing to note, unfortunately for Mr. Dan Ensch, is joining that select group of people to be suffering from the big C word, which try not to talk about it too much, but the big cough, COVID. So he's quarantining, but able to continue to sim race, and that's the best part. My own father getting it after his friend got it, their friend got it. So if you're out there and you think, hey, it's all over, hey, just go around, kiss everybody and talk up in their faces and everything, you know, maybe not so fast, especially if you haven't decided to inject yourself with mind and body and otherwise controlling drugs from the government, because you know that's what's happening. Either way, I got my shots, so if I turn into a robot, somebody let me know. But it's a good time to do that if you haven't already. Get that third booster, whatever it is, Omicron, Bank of Omaha, something. Get yourself covered with the face mask if you believe in that sort of thing, and if you don't, then that's okay too. Just, you know, just kind of stay away from people who might be sick with that at the moment, and just take it easy around holiday parties. Just my little 2 cents. I don't want to see anybody else having this terrible sickness, having to quarantine. Even if you're asymptomatic, it still sucks, and you still got to quarantine. So either way, Dan Ensch in the field, and that's good news. Jason Lowe, however, has made a pit stop. He made it on lap 5, and now we have another note. This is Iñigo Mardones having a little crasharoo. Does he crash? He just sort of pulls it to the inside of the bollard there in the first chicane, and back underway. Our notes signifying that he crashed because he went so slow, but that's just an estimation more than anything. But back at the front, working on lap number 7 here as David Strid leads Graham Bunyan. Bunyan right up behind, trying to draft and save fuel, perhaps. Perhaps Bunyan just, no, he likes smelling the exhaust from the car in front. Who knows? We got Mike West having a moment. Let's step back and take a look at this one. There's West by himself in the 102 machine. And it's not good for the underside on the car, that's for sure. We'll have a first meeting with his team owner, who's going to let him know those things and scrapes got to come out of some sort of budget. But Mike West continuing on there through the Lesmos. And back to the live picture. It is David Strid and Graham Bunyan, 1 and 2. Of course, Bunyan with that brand new livery this season in the 101 machine. Aussie racer on the side pod. Great for him. We did, of course, change our paint policy here, where we've greatly relaxed it, and we're not going to make drivers have to change. They are sort of required to follow the iRacing paint policy, so if they don't choose to do that, that's on their own accord. And of course, you can always have your account banned, though I don't know that that would happen. Just saying, could happen, I suppose. And we'll just sort of relax how we focus the cameras so that we don't get too many of those logos that are corporate logos in there that shouldn't be in there. But here's a guy who's actually been working with the ALZ.org organization and making great strides with it. It's such a cool thing that he does do it, and you know, I'd really love to know, if we can get more support there from ALZ.org or with ALZ.org, because it's really a cool thing, you know, to have a sim racer out there just deciding to slap that logo on the side pod. Just had a little change of position. This was Graham Bunyan going by on the outside. Time. Strid tucking in behind. It almost looks slightly coordinated, if I'd say so myself, but either way, here goes Graham Bunyan off to chase those ghosts of possibilities down the road. Monza's a amazing, fantastic international circuit that's seen so much action. Of course, Formula One still visiting here, and site of so many fantastic races over the years. Built in 1922. A couple of facts for you. So exactly 100 years ago. This year celebrating that 100th anniversary. And in addition, the current Italian Grand Prix still going on here from 1981 through the present. In fact, Italian Grand Prix going on from 50 to 79, 1950 to 1979, and then literally just taking like a 1-year break. Otherwise, it would have been one of the longest, if not, well, maybe, you know, Monaco's been going on longer. One of the absolute longest races that have been going on in the Formula One calendar. It was just that 2-year break, though. And then, you know, you've got the FIA, WEC there, European Le Mans Series has visited, F2, F3, International GT Open Series, just the list goes on and on. Now, interestingly, this modern circuit was built in 2000 that has this chicane, and of course, before that, it was wide open with no chicane. You can imagine the speeds carried through these corners as we see Angel Ponce now receiving slowing. Figure this one out. Going very slow, exiting the pits. Ponce receiving service as you see Mr. Stickwick go flying by there. That's not for position. But anyway, he exits the pits. So built in 2000, and those chicanes really slowing down the cars. It's I used to, like a lot of these drivers, probably. I used to race Grand Prix Legends, and as a very, very old game by today's standards, but still a lot of fun if you could get it working. And I see that looks like Mike West having a problem back there. Sure exactly what. Let's just back it up on the screen here because we can do that. It's our network. Why not? Oh my goodness. Yet again, just kind of straight lining over them bumps, and he has to do a slow down penalty. Well, that's the way that goes. Got MJ Ramirez in the pits. And he heads back out. Slightly narrow pit lane. But beautiful circuit. And originally, of course, containing the oval that you sometimes see in the backgrounds. You just see this sort of asphalt wall back there, but it's not a wall. It actually was right. No, sorry, not in that shot, but you'll see it at a different point of the track. And so, rather than continue straight on down the front straightaway, you would veer off to the right-hand side and go into this super high banked oval corner, and it actually curves off to the right. So, what a unique thing. Now let's take a look over here. We've got Manuel Gomez Esteban. He's currently running in 4th place for that Team Mazinger. Doing quite a fantastic job. And we do have our leaders into the pits. There they are, Graham Bunyan and David Strid, 1-2 into the pits for their very first service of the day. So we'll see which tires they do elect to change to. Looks like both going on to their black tires. Bunyan out of the pits very quickly. Strid a little bit A little bit slower. Dan Ensch now into the pits. Manuel Gomez Esteban also making his way into the pits. Jason Lowe goes flying by on the track. There we go. Dan Ensch exiting. And getting up to speed very quickly. We'll use this merge lane here. So normally you would have gone right to the right about there. And that would have taken you, you can see the cut in the trees there, that would have taken you off into the oval portion of the track. And, I mean, it doesn't get any more dangerous than that particular oval. It's kind of, if you crash on that oval, it's pretty high likelihood that you're not coming back from that one. It's back in the days where they put just like a simple little set, like a little tiny guardrail up there, a piece of Armco, just a singular piece, not even this triple Armco that's here. So yeah, basically if you crashed, you were going over that, and hopefully you didn't flip out onto your head, which I'm sure happened multiple times. Either way, that track being deemed far too dangerous. The oval race from 55 to 71 I show here in my notes. Thank you to Wikipedia. And the race record there, check this out, 130, so the race lap, 2.43, 43 seconds. That old oval, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong part of my notes here, was 2.641 miles, so quite a long oval even by today's standards. That would be longer than Indianapolis or Pocono raceways. And race lap record 54 seconds set in 1958 by, would you believe this? Race lap record at the oval, I guess we should know this, was set by Bob Beef in the Bose Seal Fast Special, a 1958 car, and it was an IndyCar. So the more you know. IndyCar American Bob Beef setting the official race lap record here at the oval. Of course, will never ever be raced on again due to safety concerns. Fun stuff. 30 degrees of banking. Oh. Well, wouldn't we love to see a track with 30 degrees of banking? That is something else. So back to it. Jason Lowe up into that third spot here at Monza. We're now working on lap number 12. And I was going to say that this modern Grand Prix circuit, as I mentioned, 5.793 kilometers, 3.6 miles, 11 turns, and the race lap record, if you can guess this one. Now, this track was built in 2000, and we've raced, F1 has raced here for, obviously, 22 years since then. Well, okay, time's up. Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari F2004 from 2004, just to tell you how fast those cars were back then. And I tell you what, anytime I get a chance to race in those beautiful old Ferrari F1 cars, I think on Assetto Corsa there's a great one, and other mods in different games. Just a blast to drive those cars, and Ferrari had those cars so hooked up back then. It's like driving a dream on this track, or on any track really. It just turns in perfectly, corners perfectly, great acceleration, great stopping power, and of course that's one of the years that Michael Schumacher went on to take the championship. But back here live, it's Graham Bunyan in first, David Strid in second, as Bunyan pulls it across. Yet another lap, starting on lap number 14 of 45. So great to have you with us here in virtual racing land. Iñigo Mardones checking in with us over in the chat room saying, "Hi, Trevor." Well, hi, Iñigo. How you doing, buddy? What do we got here? We got, oh, and we also have Manuel Gomez-Esteban. Hi, everybody. Hey, how you doing, Manuel Gomez-Esteban, in your cockpit? In your, checking some of these other comments here. Angel Alcaniz Ponce crashing not very long ago, or perhaps straight lining. Let's check it out. Straight lining the chicane, perhaps, or did it go off the track? That was just off the track and slightly, ooh, my goodness, then back onto the track right in front of Rick Kelbaugh. Got a little crazy there with Ryan Bowles in the background. And then Ponce dipping a wheel there. You need to watch this replay for a second because got a little crazy. Little crazy out on the track. There goes Ryan Bowles by Richard Kelbaugh. Kelbaugh choosing to let him by, and that was for position at that point. Let's go back to the live picture for a moment. And now we have a note that Mike West also had an issue. Here's Mike West. Fellow driver out of Yakima, Washington. Now the series chief steward in pretty car. Well, not such a pretty moment for Mike. And having to take that damage repair there on pit lane. Well, tough news for him for sure. So now we have Iñigo Mardones back into the pits. And they're heading down through pit lane. Mike West sitting there on pit lane, still taking that service. And MJ Ramirez having a moment. Is that right? MJ over the top of those bollards there in turn 1. Heavy, well, they're not quite standing policemen. I mean, I'm not really sure what you would call it. They're just very high curbing that you do not want to run over. It could damage the bottom side of these race cars. It's tough to keep up. And there we have Iñigo Mardones having another moment. So we'll go take a look at that one. Was having an issue going through turn 1 again through the chicane. So Mardones continuing on though, good for him. And that's just part of it. I mean, I'm just being real with you here as we see Lowe into the pits taking on service here. Kirby Pink Pig. You know, the races all don't go your way. I mean, that's part of it. I think we've talked about that quite a few times. Certainly in our more mental health focused races, that this is really a thing of stamina out here. And it's hard to stay focused as a race car driver. It's hard to stay in that zone and execute at such a high level every single lap. And so, really, mitigation of mistakes. It's funny because outside of the cockpit, if I can get the saying right, sometimes I screw these things up, but mark of a professional is that he knows how to cover up for his own mistakes. But it's sort of like he knows how to mitigate. He or she, of course, or they, of course, know how to mitigate their own mistakes. The main thing. Well, we've got a couple more notes here. This is Rick Kelbaugh having a moment and getting a little off the track and brings it back on safely. This time not overcorrecting to the point where it brings it back around and into the wall like Mike West had. Now, unfortunately, we've got more notes from Mr. West here just a moment ago. Slowed down in the way of Angel Ponce, stopping, starting, looking very shiny in that paint job though. I have to tell you, it's a good looking one, and now it looks even better now that we followed Graham Bunyan's advice. Anybody out there wants to know, in your settings file, if I can get this straight, in your renderer DX11 monitor.ini file, just look for, I think if you do a find, you'll find compress. And then it'll be under your graphic settings. So look under compress, and you will find that all of those settings have probably been set to a 1. And you want to change those to a 0. And that will give you all of these super high resolution graphics on your screen, and suddenly all the cars look even better than they did before. And it's just part of iRacing. Just keeps changing the way that they do things. They keep putting different settings in, changing things around, and they have to do that to meet all of the new demands of the graphics cards and the new features of the graphics cards. So they continue to try to improve the service, but at the same time, it does make it more complicated to stay up to date on these different settings that, make a difference in the car. So when one iRacer figures it out, because seldom does iRacing come out there and say, hey, do this, do that. It's not until the iRacers are like, oh, I guess they added something. Let's see what happens if we change that. And so thanks to Graham Bunyan, of course, for pointing that out in the iRacing in the IndyCar International IndyCar League Facebook group. And so, of course, if you want to join the International IndyCar League, well, the link is down below in that description. As I say each and every week, you can feel free as a driver to put your name in the hat, and you'll be talking with M.J. Ramirez, who is the new El Presidente, El Jefe of the International IndyCar League. There in the background, you see the oval? You could just see that banking. It looks like it's a wall, but could you imagine cars actually planted to that wall back there going, 150 miles an hour? Just something else. It must have been such a thing to behold. Unfortunately, there's no way to race that here on the iRacing service, but in other sims you certainly can, and I have. And it's about as crazy as it looks. It's certainly not glamorous. It's certainly not very, very functional piece of racetrack. And the transitions, I mean, first of all, it's this old, I guess that's concrete. And you talk about bumpy. Oh, if you walked away with any teeth left over at the end of that race, I would be shocked. But first of all, it's very bumpy, but the transitions themselves onto that oval piece and off that oval piece it's not like a modern day oval at all. Like, it's a pronounced transition that could upset the car. So in some ways you're trying to trim the car out to go fast, but in other ways you've got to make sure that it can handle the bumps and there's enough room for the suspension to move around. So here we see Dan Ensch currently running in the 4th position. Behind him on the track is Will Stearns. He's actually 2 laps down is Will Stearns. See that on the left-hand side on your scoring pylon. Jason Lowe running in that 5th position in Kirby Pink Pig. So we've got 2 Australians and 3 drivers from the United States taking up the top 5 at the moment. Then Daniel Gomez-Esteban for Team Mazinger. Gomez-Esteban, as I mentioned last race, in that new coloring scheme for Team Mazinger, and that's great. Super Mercado on board, of course, as always. But he and they electing to go with that much brighter colored orange, black, and white coloring scheme, and that's kind of cool because it you know, brings a little bit of that McLaren orange that's part of the real life, both Formula One, IndyCar, and other series into the mix. So we've got Dan Ensch and M.J. Ramirez taking on service. There's M.J. exiting the pits first, followed by the End ALZ machine. Number 52 there coming up to speed slowly. As I mentioned, Dan suffering with that COVID, so definitely under the weather and was trying to get through today's race. 5.6 seconds belonging to Graham Bunyan. That is your gap, and now he will bring it into the pits, as you can see there. Quickly into the pits, and David Strid just behind, following suit. This for their second stop of the day. So both of these drivers on the black tires. And will he continue to stick on those black tires? Trevor says as he lets out a gigantic yawn. Oh my goodness me. Almost didn't make it in time. They delayed my first flight coming out of Orange County Airport to San Francisco. It was delayed by almost an hour, and I had the flight attendant come over and whisper in my ear, just as we get ready to land. Okay, so as soon as they take off the seat buckle sign, I need you to get to the front of the plane. You got to make your connecting flight. She said she was going to make an announcement over the overhead that we needed to do that, but she didn't, and so I look like one of those jerks that just pushes his way forward. But I'm like, hey, I got to get up to Seattle so I can do the broadcast. All these people are depending on me. I already been late for one of them this season. So anyway, for all of our shining fans out there, VirtualRacing.Network, International IndyCar League, I'm here. I'm in the saddle. I got the 3 monitors and all the rest going. But I can tell you this, the last week that we will be broadcasting from Seattle. Stay tuned to find out where our new headquarters is. We may be setting up temporarily in a hotel room for next week for the Rescue Ranch race. We're, of course, looking forward to. And then after that, we should have our feet on the ground in our new location. I'm excited to announce that very shortly. Give us access to... I mean, it's a whole new part of the world. I've never lived in this part of the world before that we're going to, and it's going to be a lot of fun. That is for certain. So, David Strid here on your screen, the number 48 car, your current champion. He's running in second place. 6.21 seconds ahead, and taking the sector 4 fastest fastest sector of the race. Graham Bunyan. Not even how you pronounce his name. Just trying to have a little fun here. Trying to wake up here on Sunday morning. Good morning to everybody out there. Tell us where you're rooting on from out there in the rest of the world. Oh, I see we dropped a viewer. Well, apologize for mispronouncing everything. But just trying to have a little fun here on the broadcast. Shake things up a little bit since Graham Bunyan seems to just want to run along by himself and put everyone else in the dust. Graham up by 6.31 seconds, and then we look back past David Strid. 9 seconds back, it's Jason Lowe for the Rescue Ranch. Always bringing some awareness there for Rescue Ranch. M.J. Ramirez running in third. And by the way, let's say if you don't have already a livery and you'd like to run this livery, you might talk to MJ. He might be willing to let you borrow it. You want to get into the feeling of the moment and run that particular livery. And I suppose if we ever do decide to take people's liveries away again, we might just replace it with that particular one. We can just kind of deal with that. Dan Ensch there running in fifth. So anyway, long story short, I did make the connecting flight. I just had to basically run from one gate to another, and they were already loading the plane. Something that this guy, Dominic Harte, knows all about, making these long flight, like going into the chicane there. He almost took a little bit of flight going over that curbing, but brought it back down to earth fairly well. Abu Dhabi. I was actually talking to somebody last night about Abu Dhabi, my Lyft driver, saying how crazy it is, some of the rules and the laws that are in Abu Dhabi that you got to look out for, including apparently lots of traffic cameras you have to watch out for. I'd love to know if Dominic Harte has anything to say about that. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk with him today. He did present last week's race for the Cancer Council, and if you missed that, wow, you missed a great finish. It was, I know I've mentioned it several times, but it's worth it just to see that finish and how close it was. Bunyan fighting with his longtime friend A.J. Burton for the race win. And there we can see Bunyan, and you know, that is Harte making his way out of the pit. So Harte falling down a lap at this point. And so let's give you a little status update on where everyone's at with their tire choices. Bunyan with black tires, Strid with red tires. Both of those drivers also, another factor that we never talk about in this league, because frankly we only do like 1 or 2 road races a year, or a season, excuse me, is push to pass. So push to pass is available to these drivers. You get 10 pushes, gives you basically I think up to 10 seconds of push to pass per push. And by the way, you'll note that last lap for Graham Bunyan, interesting, it only shows it green there, because look and see, I believe he is, yeah, that was certainly the fastest by a long margin. So that was the purple lap. Again, I don't know why it's showing as green, it should show as purple. But either way, Graham Bunyan, fastest lap of the race, 1:33.61. I mean, I don't remember what the qualifying time for the pole was, but I mean, that's basically right in qualifying territory. So Bunyan picking them up and putting them down here in Monza. 21 laps remaining here for the Italian Indy Grand Prix. You're watching live on VirtualRacing.Network. Hey, are you enjoying this at all? I mean, that's a rhetorical question. Of course you're enjoying this great race and my commentary. So please hit the thumbs up button down there. Helps you out, helps me out. And if you're not already subscribed, you're watching this sometime perhaps delayed, as really most of our views come from viewers who are watching this over the course of the week and kind of catching up on iRacing events and different leagues that they follow. Yeah, you want to make sure you hit subscribe. That way, we're right there in your feed. Come in, you check your subscribed videos, and you watch them in your own time and leisure. We'll be right there in that grouping. And very soon next week, be heading back to the ovals. We got a minute here. We can, I suppose, take a look at things for a second. There we go. This is what's coming up next week. Is see the pink car running through the middle of that. Well, we got Michigan. Okay, well, that was a whole lot of fun. Appeared to have a very large glitch there that took us down for a moment. Thank you to Xfinity or somebody who decided that we were going to drop off the face of the planet there. Hopefully it didn't cause too much of a distraction, but the beauty of this live streaming thing is it kind of waits for us to come back. So not sure exactly where things cut off. You can see the rest of that schedule there on your screen, and Get away from that for a minute. You can see at the top of the order, so Graham Bunyan leading David Strid. M.J. Ramirez up into that podium position seat. Jason Lowe in fourth. Dan Ensch in fifth. Manuel Gomez Esteban sixth. Angel Ponce in seventh place. Here we get his information correct by the end of this one, and we'll fix that. Make sure that he does appear officially in our running order here with the correct team name, because that's very important, isn't it? Mazinger flying Angel Ponce for today's race. Very cool. But in the meantime, Aussie racer out there getting it done. 19 laps to go for Graham Bunyan. You hear the crowd. They are so excited to have a driver the quality of Graham Bunyan in this field and bringing the heat every single lap. Way back there. 8.3 seconds back. That's David Strid, and not even on the screen yet. 36 seconds back to M.J. Ramirez. And apologize for the interruption in our broadcast there, but everything kind of back as it were. So Strid running in second place. Trying to look for some tight battles on the track, which you can imagine. Oh, here's Ryan Bowles coming across the track. This is, oh my goodness, and just running over those curbings and perhaps doing damage to the underside on that car. There, he's not quite able to get it turned in for the first Lesmo. The second Lesmo now, but he's still able to keep it on the track. And we have Iñigo Mardones. This was moments ago making a pass. If we can step back just a little bit further. Okay, so this is Mardones getting by Mike West, who swings off to the side of the track. Mardones going by, Mike West falls in behind. Then what happened? Something happened. According to our software. Oh my goodness, he gets plowed into from behind. So let's just see if we can figure this one out. So we're on board with Mardones. And it's Mike West. Oh, he does try to take evasive action. I don't know what caused West to hit the back of the Necky Racing team driver, but sad to say that did affect his day as well. And so Iñigo Mardones now unfortunately coming into the pits to receive service. Mike West also now into the pits as well. And the crowd loving it. I mean, hear the cheers in the background. They're just loving this Destruction Derby. Why not? I mean, you pay the big bucks, you want to see some parts fly, I guess. Of course, car parts, not human parts. Not out here for blood sport. But there, and really, of course, that was a big factor in real life racing. You can't forget the 1970s and how dangerous it had become, with drivers getting seriously hurt and killed on almost a weekly basis in Formula One, and IndyCar seeing its share of tragedies over the years. So the element of danger never leaves these cars, never leaves the racing entirely, even as safe as it gets and all the improvements that get made. Really, it never becomes safe. It's always an element of danger in there that you could get hurt or killed. Interestingly, last night on the plane flight home, for those of you that know, you get a chance to watch different movies for free on your cell phone or on your tablet or whatever using the plane's Wi-Fi system. It's really cool. I'd love to know kind of more of the technical way that that works, but very, very cool stuff. And so you're able to watch, you know, dozens of modern movies and some classics as well, TV shows, stuff like that. So for the first time, I think I'd always waited to read the book first, but I just decided I was going to watch The Art of Racing in the Rain. And really, what a great film. I can imagine, you know, you can just sense how the book, I think, would give more space to allow the storyline to flow a little bit. But wonderful movie, very heart-touching, heart-wrenching, a little difficult for me to get through at the moment with my dad kind of suffering and there being some elements of people suffering and having issues in there. Kelbaugh having an issue here. Flashing back to that. Ooh! That's a new one. So, oh, and then we're going to clip the underside there as well. Hear the damage. But either way, Mr. Stickwick back underway. And now we have our leaders back into the pits. So here's Graham Bunyan. And following suit is Mr. David Strid. Defending champion David Strid. Bunyan already down, excuse me, already down and away. Bunyan on those red tires. Strid splitting strategy and going with black tires here. Now, I guess I should talk about what, I didn't even talk about push to pass, what it does. You push it, it gives you 10 seconds or so, up to 10 seconds of acceleration, extra boost, enough to make a pass and get it done. So in the old days, you used to call it the candy button because it would just richen up the fuel, give you a little bit of extra horsepower when you needed it. But the difference in the tires is that the red sidewall tires, the Firestone Firehawks, are softer, grippier, but they don't last as long. And these black sidewall tires, you see both, or what you see David Strid on. The black sidewalls, they do. Now, if this is wrong, I'm going to look at the sidewalls here. If this is showing differently than what our software says, then it's just yet another example of how you can't count on anybody or anyone to get it right. And in fact, that's the case. So who knows who's on what tires, or who cares, right? Thanks, SDK, for getting it right. Graham Bunyan on black sidewalls right now, and who can blame him? The harder compound tires, this has been something that iRacing has really struggled to get exactly right. They introduced these new tire models some years ago, or some seasons ago, I guess now years ago. And it's one thing to get a singular compound to handle realistically, but it's difficult to get two compounds that are supposed to be kind of exactly complementing each other to work exactly the way that you want them to. In a way, it's not that much different, I suppose, than having two different manufacturer race cars work that way and complement each other. But it does take a lot of work to get that exact amount of fall off over the course of a stint, and you know, tire temperature degradation, tire buildup, heat buildup in the tires. To simulate that is actually surprisingly difficult, and so really iRacing kind of messing about with it many times. Since its inception. There you can see the oval on the left-hand side as well, that high banking of that oval. As we watch International IndyCar League blimp, the VirtualRacing.Network blimp. Currently unsponsored for this week, but showing MJ Ramirez heading down into the chicane. They're at the center of your screen. And he'll head into Lesmo 1. Now, Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2 are, of course, part of the original circuit. Really see it too well there, but he'll come through there. We'll get a better shot of the backside of this track here. And heading into Ascari here at the end, right there. This being Variante Ascari, which is basically a chicane named after Ascari, famous F1 racer from way, way back. Now headed into Parabolica. We can't really see that so well from the blimp, so I cut to this camera. Parabolica, for those of you familiar with the parabolic curve, it's basically a fully round curve, although in this case, it's actually a decreasing radius corner, and that means that there's a sharper initial part of the corner, and then it gets easier as the corner goes on. So it allows you to kind of step on the gas and ride the corner out, and ride the car out to the edge of the track, and get up to speed heading down the track, and hopefully catch somebody's slipstream. But these cars getting quite spaced out, so not as easy to do that. Graham Bunyan, though, is working on just 12 laps remaining. It's about to dip under that 10 laps to go situation. Graham Bunyan looking like he never stopped racing for a day, and getting it done here in Monza. 13 seconds over David Strid at the moment, and Jason Lowe. And by the way, Bunyan has now used 3 of those push-to-passes, so he has 6 remaining. It's not right. He's used 4, so he has 6 remaining. David Strid has used 1, so he's got 9 remaining. Jason Lowe has 8 remaining. MJ Ramirez with 3 remaining. And a couple of drivers still with 10 remaining back in the back. This is the Ryan Bowles hanging on to that. And it's like he's collecting those push-to-passes. Just not gonna give them up. Dominic Harte also with 10 remaining. And fun fact, if you ever want to just sort of get the fastest lap of a race, best way to do it, or other types of fast laps where you can do this, just save all that push to pass and use it on one lap. Just every time you can, just hit that candy button and use up all that push to pass, and magically you have a fast lap. Hey, fastest lap of the race, Dominic Harte. Nope, not yet, but that could happen. David Strid, though, he's using the candy button at the moment. Graham Bunyan using the candy button right now as well. A few drivers. Jason Lowe on his push to pass, and Dan Ensch on his as well. So if you take a look on the pylon on the left-hand side, I'll put the best race lap times there for you so you can see your favorite driver and how fast they've gone. But so far, just 2 drivers in that 33-second bracket, and 1, 2, 3 drivers in the 34-second bracket. But Bunyan and Strid setting the pace here, able to go fast, able to stay consistent, stay on track. But you see Bunyan now working on the lap car of Angel. Nope, that's not Angel. That's Manuel Gomez Esteban. Apologize for drawing a blank. I think I'm going to take a nap after this race. Indeed you do. You got to get up at 5:30 in the morning on the West Coast. That's why I'm moving. It's a little easier for me to do these broadcasts. No, that has nothing to do with it, but I have no idea how I'm going to handle the January 1st race. I have 0 idea. What did we just see? What happened? There's some off-tracking back there. I guess he's back underway. Manuel Gomez Esteban. And now we do have Jason Lowe into the pits for his final service. Back roughly 10 laps remaining for the 004. Jason Lowe now taking that final pit stop. Will he be able to hold on to third? He's got a 30-second gap right now over M.J. Ramirez, so coming down quick. We'll have to see. It's now way under that, so what are we going to see here? There's MJ in the background, sparkling as he drives down that front straightaway, but it's Jason Lowe who holds on. MJ last in on lap 29, so it's possible that he's going to have to come back. And you see that he may have straight-lined that chicane as well. We didn't quite keep the camera on him long enough. The 52-year-old man out of NRH, Texas. So funny, I think when he put down his location, he put NRH. And the only reason why I knew that was because I had done work with somebody who was in the Dallas-Fort Worth. Actually, a couple of times I've done work with some people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And they use that term, NRH. And I was like, I don't know. NRH doesn't mean anything to me. But it means something if you're from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, for sure. So, just one of those localisms that means a lot if you're in the local community, but either way, making sure that we get that information. And of course, if you're one of the racers out there, you want to get me more information as far as your age or your location. Hey, with your age, all I need is your birth date, and I can plug that in. I don't actually work off of your, or SDK doesn't work off of your actual age. And there you see Angel Ponce having a freak off track there for Mazinger, Team Mazinger. And that putting, well, actually Strid was, well, Ponce had already taken a lap down, but Spaniard, sorry, I believe it was Catalonian flag. Get that information for you, but like I said, anybody who wants to have their information inputted here, just feel free to send it to me. We don't allow got a couple of incidents here. Let's take a look at this one. Iñigo Mardones a moment ago, and hopping and porpoising and into the wall. Well, there you go. Unfortunate for Mr. Mardones. That one's going to cost him, and that will take him out of the top 10. But Graham Bunyan continues to make it look like he's out there for a Sunday drive. Of course, he's racing on Monday. Let's go back to the live picture. I'm barely hanging on there, folks. Barely hanging on. About 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And we are making it through this race, that is for sure. Monza round number 2 for the International IndyCar League Season 17. You're watching live. Well, at least several of you are watching live. The rest of you are watching here after the fact on VirtualRacing.Network on our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe, hit the like button. You'll get much, much more. Top 3 at the moment, unfortunately, is Graham Bunyan. David, I say unfortunately, I was a phone call in the background, so I apologize if anybody heard that. Graham Bunyan, David Strid, Jason Lowe, your top 3. MJ Ramirez in 4th, Dan Ensch in 5th, and Gomez Esteban in 6th. And now Ensch making his way out of the pits. Bunyan taking on his last stop. So we'll have to see how this works out, because possibly some other drivers are on a different strategy. Certainly, David Strid for the first time not coming in on the same lap as Bunyan. So this could be, I mean, I don't think anybody's saved that much fuel that they're going to be able to overtake, but we'll find out soon enough. Graham Bunyan, though, already back out on track. And so if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be Strid, but I think Strid will be in on this next lap. Jason Lowe in 3rd.
clip that inside of the track and just do everything he can. But, you know, as I said before, it's all about mitigating mistakes. I haven't really seen Lowe make too many mistakes today, and probably a good thing. There's been some races where he's had a couple of mistakes. So focusing on minimizing those is obviously key. But it's also about, you know, consistently finishing and avoiding those incidents that can take you out of the race. As we've seen a number of drivers get into self-spins, etc., and hit the wall. Frequently on the ovals, you can tangle with somebody due to no fault of your own, be taken out of the race, and that's been one of the things that's cost Lowe in the past. It's cost Strid, cost others, notably Mike West and Ryan Bowles. I mean, if there's one driver who kind of has the Mark Martin guy that should be winning championships but seems to get tangled in everyone else's races luck, he's just got a magnet on the side of his car. Seems like it's Ryan Bowles, but either way, Bowles continuing here and continuing to try to set fast laps, but it's going to be a little too late to get up into the top 5. Rick Kelbaugh now into the pit, and David Strid continuing here. So will Strid be, I mean, there's no way. Am I wrong? There's no way he can make another, no. He's got to pull into the pits here momentarily, but 12 seconds ahead of Graham Bunyan, and another 10 seconds back to Jason Lowe. That's something else for Jason Lowe to actually bring it down to just 10 seconds back of Graham Bunyan. That's quite interesting. 10 seconds? Really can't tell. I don't know why it's showing this way that it is, but it's actually 22 seconds. My apologies. Looking at the wrong information. There's 22-second gap between Bunyan and Lowe. Why the interval distance doesn't match the gap, I mean, I'd love to sit here and argue, but my brain can't really understand it right now. David Strid now does finally pull it into the pits. Beautiful baby blue, number 48. Kind of UCLA blue, if I'm being honest. It's very close to UCLA blue. UCLA, for those of you who are college sports fans, of course, they have great academics at UCLA. But I grew up in the Southern California area, and they're one of the powerhouse sports teams, football and basketball. Excuse me, American football. Football around the world being what Americans call soccer. You never know. I mean, things keep changing. They keep trying to play football and American football in different parts of the world. What are they going to call it there besides American football? Well, then you get over into Australia and you got rugby. That's it's brutal. It's a brutal thing. Amazing to watch. People still willing to be able to go out there and just bash each other around like that over a silly little ball game, but it's fun and exciting and just brutal to watch at the same time. It's not quite like watching like kickboxing or something like that, but it's a full contact sport, that is for sure, and without all the same pads and protection that you get in American football. Manuel Gomez Esteban for the Mazinger team into the pits, receive his service, and be ready to fly away from his pit stall. There he goes. Underway again with just 4 laps remaining. Graham Bunyan flying across that start-finish stripe and just about to go into the chicane. He'll just have 3 more times to do that after this one. Then we will stay tuned afterwards for some brief interviews with our drivers so that Trevor can get to sleep afterwards. But either way, so proud to be covering this league. This is our 7th straight season of coverage. And you know, we've never missed a race. We've missed doing live broadcasts now probably, I want to say 2, maybe 3 times out of all of those races, probably well over 100 races now, I think. 12, 7. Getting up there. Again, fuzzy brain math right now, but it's like 85 or something races we've done with the International IndyCar League. That would just take, you know, a couple of them just due to life situations, but we are able to broadcast remotely now, so even, unfortunately, we have to move our headquarters, so that doesn't quite work, but once we can get set up again, it'll be funny, we can do these broadcasts from literally anywhere in the world, and that is, that's pretty cool stuff, so feel free to fly us out, put us up in your hometown, and we'll do a broadcast together, and we'll get some fish and chips, and call a race or two. You can go be color commentator with me. Why not? One of you folks that's got a bunch of money out there, hang out together, fly me in. We'll do co-broadcast together. It'll be one of those fun life experiences we'll never forget. I don't know, just getting a little loopy here as we're getting down to it. 3 laps to go for Graham Bunyan, David Strid, and Jason Lowe. Your top 3. That time by Sector 1 of the race belonging to David Strid, so he isn't done yet. Just trying to really claw into that lead. He's got those red sidewalls on that you can see there. So perfect time for him to light off the rest of his push to passes and try to get another fast lap in. There he goes, lighting off that push to pass. Once again, it would be so cool if SDK would allow us to show that, but unfortunately, it's not one of the things that's included. We do have MJ Ramirez having an off. Now, this was as not MJ. MJ, what's going on? Go back. So here's MJ. Headed into the first chicane and hopping and dancing over those curbs. Not a crash, just a slowdown. Graham Bunyan! As he just yells into the mic, Graham Bunyan! Aussie racer there, just 2 laps remaining. Don't you crack up in that cockpit, Graham Bunyan, and he won't. He's the... One thing I know about Graham, he's kind of got the Sebastian Bourdais touch. You know, there's certain drivers like Michael Schumacher, aside from his couple of very weird incidents that he got himself into, there are just certain drivers that, I'm not saying they never made mistakes when they're leading, but it's sort of like when they're in that rhythm out there and they're putting on a show up at the front and they're out there by themselves in their own little world, they are as cool and calm and they are the Iceman, so to speak. Hey, Kimi Räikkönen, the Iceman. Who's hitting the wall? Is that Richard Kelbaugh? Indeed he do. A little bit of fun in the dirt for Mr. Kelbaugh. Now he's going and mowing some grass. Wrong season to be mowing grass. Hey, what, Mr. Kelbaugh, I believe he's over in Idaho. In fact, I know he is. Part of the Idaho that I used to live in for a while. And my good friend, who's actually the guy who just called me on the phone, probably giving me a status update on my father, but let me know there's a bunch of snow on the ground, and there is more coming. More on its way this next week. Supposed to get a big snowstorm coming through this whole area in the Pacific Northwest and bringing rain and snow all up and down the west coast, heading eastward. So, not grass clipping weather right now. Though we had our snow melt off here in the Tacoma area, and funny, when the sun comes out, get this little bit of weird winter grass growth that goes on. But Graham Bunyan, not having to deal with that at the moment. It is hot, humid. No, not hot and humid. Hot, at least down there where he's at in Brisbane, Australia. We can get you a weather update for Brisbane, Australia. Today, it's currently 69 degrees, of course, middle of the night. 90 degrees it was today there in Brisbane. Tomorrow, 85 and rainy. 89 on Tuesday, 88 on Wednesday. So it's nice and warm. It's not too hot. You know, high 80s. That's pretty nice. When it gets over 100 degrees, you got to start to worry. But either way, no worries for the man, the master, the 5-time consecutive champion, and many more. Taking his first victory here in Season 17. It's Graham Bunyan with the victory at Virtual Monza. And taking second place, weaving down the track. There he is. He deserves it. Last season's champion. Second place here today. David Strid taking second at Monza. 1-2 for the friends and teammates, dominating. We didn't have any other Australians in the race today, so for the two Aussies to take 1 and 2, dominating our one real international circuit that's a road course. We do visit, of course, Motegi this season. And so that's excellent news. We get out to a second international track, but M.J. Ramirez still finishing it up, about to head into Parabolica for the final time and down the front straightaway. And across that start-finish stripe he goes. Let that machine cool down, and back over to Graham Bunyan, who gets to celebrate, and hopefully we will get a chance to chat with him here in our victory circle coming up momentarily. So we will wait for these drivers to finish up their laps. Dan Ensch also now finishing up his final lap, taking 5th place. Congratulations to him. Kind of Mr. Top 5, if I'm being honest, and that's how he's ended up. Sometimes up in the second place. I think right as we were starting to broadcast Season 10, it was probably Season 9 that Dan took second in the championship here in this league. And Dan now really been consistent. Last few seasons, he's been as high as second in the championship, falling back into third and almost taking third. But either way, top 5 finish. And Graham Bunyan pauses to do a little bit of donuts on the front straightaway. And we'll wait to see if David Strid wants to join him. In the meantime, we're now official, so go ahead and empty the screen, and we can get those final results up there on the screen for you. There it is. Mr. Graham Bunyan takes the victory here. Autodromo Nazionale Monza, with David Strid in second, Jason Lowe in third, leading the podium. M.J. Ramirez, El Presidente of the league, taking up 4th position. Dan Ensch taking top 5, as mentioned, at ALZ.org, Last Lap Motorsports. And I always try to mention the team names on there. Graham blowing that engine. David Strid coming to rest alongside. And Manuel Gomez Esteban, great finish for him. The two Team Mazinger cars finishing 6th and 7th place. Angel Ponce taking 7th place there. Get a little bit of music for you, so it's not just me droning on and on as we wait for these drivers to hop out of their cockpits. And Dragon Racer saying that is such a good book. Made me cry at the end. I don't know when he typed that. It was probably while he was leading. But either way, I agree. It'd be nice if I had more time to read. I envy all the people who do create that time. But maybe we'll get a chance to talk with Graham about it. Really loved it. I was in tears on the plane. Sorry, I'm a sensitive person. That's the way it goes with me. But either way, took my mind off of other things and was able to get in, take my lift home. And man, you just talk to those Lyft drivers. They have got so many stories to tell, you know. Get them talking and you get communicating with them. Good times. At midnight, my driver last night from Kenya telling me a little bit of stories about his family back there. Well, it looks like we're back. I apologize for the momentary interruption once again. I don't have any control over whether Xfinity keeps us connected or not, but we're back. So we're hoping to get a chance to talk with post-race interviews here. We've got Jason Lowe, who we might get a chance to chat with. So let's go ahead and bring him in and get a chance to chat with our third place finisher, Mr. Jason Lowe. He won several championships in a row. He's won some races since then, but just getting a podium here at Monza. Hey, Jason, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to live broadcast. And you took podium here today at Monza. Did you expect you were going to take podium, and how did the race play out for you?
Hey, thanks, Trevor. I had a really poor qualifying result, so I wasn't sure how the race was going to shake out. I got really fortunate. There was some people with problems on the first couple laps, and I really just had to avoid them and go forward. The only person I really was racing with was MJ. Him and I were pretty close on pace. I decided to short pit early on. I knew we were going to make X number of stops, and there was roughly going to be 5 laps of fuel left at the end. So I decided to come in early and kind of separate myself out. And it worked out good for me. I got to run mostly clean air the whole race and didn't really have to dice with too many people. Just didn't have the pace that Graham and David Strid had. Happy with my podium, and got 2 top 5s to start the season and 1 top 3. So we'll move forward from here.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. And so are you you've won obviously so many of these races here in the league. Although it's been very difficult to get a race win with the likes of David Strid, Graham Bunyan leading these races. But are you starting to think championship again? Do you really want that championship crown back, or are you just trying to go after the race win and do your best each race again?
I mean, I know you never believe me, but even in real life and in here, I go for every race. I know I'm not going to win them all, not in the company I'm running with, but you get 1 in here, 1 there, you get some top 5s, top 3s, and toward the end of the season, you take stock of that. But it just really enjoyed the race today. I'm not that good of a road racer, but I enjoy doing it occasionally, and this is a really fun track, and David Strid brought us a absolutely perfect setup, so thanks to him as always. And thanks to you, and thanks to all the people that watch. We appreciate you.
Definitely do appreciate. And now that you have retired, at least temporarily, from that El Presidente role here in the league, what are you doing with all that extra time? You helping out your animals and taking care of your little rescue ranch situation there at your pad? And what else you got going on, Jason?
I'm a kind of a homebody when I'm not working. I mean, I work long hours during the week, and on the weekends I enjoy my racing and just enjoy spending time with my wife and my animals. That's about it. I'm a simple man, simple pleasures.
Simple man, family man, and good to animals, rescuing quite a few as well, taking care of them. Great photos coming to us from Tiffany, of course, and yourself of a happy life. And so great the things that you're doing there, and also bringing that awareness every week for the Rescue Ranch. Congratulations on your 3rd place, and we'll look forward to seeing you in more familiar territory, turning left and going extremely fast at Michigan Speedway next week. You got any thoughts on Michigan?
I like it. It's one of my favorite big ovals. Also want to give a shout out to Dan Ensch. He's under the weather. He raced sick today. He still got his top 5. Good for him. And we all hope he feels better real soon.
You betcha. Well, that's Jason Lowe, Class Act, and racing from 8th place all the way up to 3rd, taking that podium position. Good luck next week, bud. See you next week.
Thanks a lot.
So that's Jason Lowe, podium position. Jason Lowe in the Pink Pig Kirby 004 machine, and now we do get a chance to chat with the champ, and he'll remain being called the champ because he took 5 consecutive championships, all broadcasted live here, VirtualRacing.Network, and still arch rival to Jason Lowe in the series. But, he looked like the Graham Bunyan of old here today, even compared to David Strid, who is just a speed demon who created this setup. Graham, thanks. Welcome back to the cockpit. Welcome back to competitive racing here in the International IndyCar League, and welcome back to Victory Lane. great to see you, the 101 machine. Tell us all about your race and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Welcome back, and happy to have you back here doing a live broadcast. Well done. Look, I'm a little bit under the weather myself. I'm trying to dodge that sickness, the bad sickness. So anyway, race was good. Yeah, setup was great. Dave made a great setup this time. I think it was adaptable for everybody to drive. My plan was to just run out on blacks the whole way, and I was going to do the last stint on reds, but I thought I'll do the second last one. Made a bit of time up there, and come out on blacks, and on the second lap on the blacks, I decided to have a little bit of an off track and sort of shortcut the chicane, which cost me 3 seconds. But really good, and yeah, just great.
Well, and so, I mean, Strid still pretty much held with you the whole race, the final margin of victory under 10 seconds. So you two keeping pretty good pace with each other, but at some point you broke free. It was kind of your own race to deal with, and I talked about it a little bit during the broadcast. What's it like? You know, it's one thing to get out there and take that position, but then you got to defend it, or you got to just hold on for however many laps. Is it a stamina thing? Is it a mental thing? Are you putting yourself into a zone? Do you just look at it lap by lap? What do you do to keep yourself in the lead and not do something silly like go spin off or put a tire wrong or something like that?
It's funny. I'm not concentrating onto the turn that I'm coming into. I'm 2 turns ahead of myself. So I'm sort of trying to read the turns before I'm even getting to them. Like, I'm already going through one turn and I've already read that one, 2 turns beforehand. So it's a funny concept, especially with me anyway. Like I say, I'm looking at 2 turns ahead of myself. And it's just a constant, just trying to keep yourself constant, brake at the same place, lift at the same place, accelerate at the same place, and make a few adjustments on the brakes, just, so it, pedal gets long, make it a little bit shorter, and just soften up the front end a bit.
Make it a little easier for yourself. Maybe not quite as super fast. I mean, we saw David Strid put in some fast sectors there at the end, but make it a little bit more comfortable for yourself and a little less likely to make those mistakes. What's it like? We didn't get a chance to talk with you last week. That was an amazing finish between yourself and AJ Burton, your friend. Was he in your ear today? And also, just tell us about that finish last week. That was some exciting stuff.
For AJ, I'm not sure where AJ was today. He was here for practice yesterday, and I don't know whether something come up or whether he forgot the race was on. I'm not too sure what the story was there. But last week, I just left my move a little bit too late. If I had another meter of track, I would have been in front of him by a nose instead of him being in front. But last week's race was awesome, and that setup was just another amazing setup, just crazy.
Well, and of course, David Strid, the genius who creates these great setups that are very raceable. It seems like he keeps learning how to make it even better and better for raceability. It's not just like he's trying to give himself and you some sort of advantage. Everybody talking about it every week, just how raceable these setups get. Next week, we're heading to Michigan. It's one of those, it could be a crapshoot, but at the same time, there is some skill that's necessary to hang on. Give us some thoughts about next week, and it couldn't be any more different, right? You're here turning right and left and going fast, going slow, using the brakes. Next week, it's all just everything you got, going as fast as you can. What do you think about Michigan?
Yeah, look, it's funny. Moving on to Michigan, so Pocono, the draft at Pocono this time around was like a Michigan draft. It was like you wanted to pedal faster, but the car just wouldn't move. It was just like it was stuck in dead air. It was the draft was non-existent at Pocono, so it's very similar to Michigan, depending on the way it's set up. I'm hoping for a little bit of a setup that's a little bit challenging for people, but I think Michigan is more of a pack race. If it's one of those races where the setup's good and the 2 or 3 lead cars can actually draft swap and make a break, then it's good. So it'll come down to strategy at Michigan for sure. I think it'll be a pack race if it's past seasons have been proven. But yeah, look, Michigan's another one of those super speedways for me. I take it like a super speedway. It's one of those ones where you can start at the front but end at the back by the end of the race. So it's luck of the gods on that one.
Luck of the gods. Call it a crapshoot, call it luck of the gods. Either way, it should be an exciting race. It always is, even if it's pack racing. These Indy cars just inches apart from one another, having to survive. And of course, you on one continent, a lot of these other drivers on totally different continents. And it just makes it exciting stuff. Got to watch out for that kind of net Cody stuff. Hey, Graham, always great to have you. Your class act and 5-time consecutive champion, winning here again today at our international road racing circuit in Monza, and looking forward to having you the rest of the season. Good luck, and hopefully you can keep that David Strid guy at bay, and maybe you got a chance at another championship.
Look, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I'm starting to feel 100% more better now, but just a little bit concerned about the old dreaded COVID. It's sort of raising its head around here. My wife's come down positive with it today, only 2 hours ago, so she's upstairs not well, and the son had it 2 weeks ago, so I've dodged it, and working in amongst it every day. It's been good for me to dodge, but I don't know. It's getting close.
I hear you. Yeah, my own father just had it. His friend had it. Their friend had it. And it seems like just when you think it's over, it's right back there again. So everybody stay safe out there. You heard it from Graham Bunyan himself. He's in the business, and you got to watch out. This is one of those times that everybody, please, you believe in doing the mask thing, do the mask thing, use the hand sanitizer, practice social distancing. And let's just all kind of, if you do, pray for everybody's safety and their health right now, and certainly for Mr. Dan Ensch, who is currently suffering under that. Hey, Graham, great having you here. We'll see you again next week from Michigan, bud.
No worries. Thank you very much. And just want to say thank you to MJ for taking on the reins, and who else? Mike West for doing the stewarding, and I think, I don't even know who the admins are. I think I am one of them, but I'll have to have a look. I missed the admin meeting tonight, so I'm a little bit out of the loop. And hopefully Jason can get to some competitive racing and get up in amongst it all.
Absolutely. Always your arch rival here in the league. He held 3 consecutive championships until you took it over, and just some great stuff. Hey, thanks a lot. We'll see you next week, Graham.
No worries. Thank you, and hopefully iRacing will fix up their paints.
All right. So that was Graham Bunyan, the number 101 car, leading the tandem of Australian drivers you're so used to seeing, Graham Bunyan and David Strid, taking victory here at Monza, as you saw it live, and Jason Lowe finishing it up in third. As always, we invite you to stick around next week, same time, same channel, VirtualRacing.Network. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and just hit those things. Don't hit anything else. Just subscribe and like. Maybe hit a punching bag or a pillow or something. Feel that kind of rage. But either way, would love to see you next week for Michigan. On behalf of everybody here in the International IndyCar League, I'm Trevor Greenfield, and I hope you have a pleasant rest of your week. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.